She served as past district governor in 2017. She's been active since as zone public image coordinator. She has served as the chair of the Rotary International Young Leaders Committee that is identifying ways for young leaders to be encouraged to apply for the Rotary International president position and clearing some barriers there. And so maybe she can give us some updates there. Michelle, you'll have to clarify whether you're past president of that group or past chair of that group or current chair, but I thought I read a different name was chair now. And then the last thing is that Michelle also has been working with Pacific Northwest Pets, taking over for the longtime announcer of that event, and she can tell you a little bit more about some of the plans for Pacific Northwest Pets in 2021. So with that, let's give a warm welcome to Michelle, and take it away, Michelle.
Cool. If you could, thanks guys. If you could allow me to share my screen, that would be awesome, Andre.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
While he's talking, or while he's doing that, I'll give you a little bit of background on the Young District Governors Committee. It was formed 3 years ago, and I didn't even know about it. But Dean Roars, who was the director at the time, sent me an email, and she said, I have a really weird question for you, and I apologize in advance, but how old are you? And so I told her, and she said, well, okay, and then she explained why. Because RI was forming a committee of young past district governors, and one of the criteria was that you had to be below the age of 50, which to me is very interesting because I don't know, 50 doesn't seem that young to me, but that was the criteria. And so I've been sitting on that committee for 3 years, and Andre, you're right, I was chair last year, not this year. So it's been a real honor to be on the committee. And I like the way that they've set it up because the committee is made up of 4 men and 4 women from around the world. And for example, this year, the committee is made up of an individual from Norway, New Zealand. There's 2 of us from the United States. The chair is Haresh, he's from Jamaica. There's someone from Nigeria, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia. And so, as you can imagine, with all of those time zones, trying to schedule a meeting is really strange. So we have a meeting this Wednesday. For some people, it will be Thursday. For me, it will be 5 in the morning. And for my counterpart in New Zealand, it will be 1 in the morning for her. So we're all up at all different hours meeting. And so what do we do on that committee? We were really not given a mandate. The first year, President Ian would give us a list of questions. So could you please tell us your thoughts on this? What do you think, for example, the role of a district governor should be? And then also during that time, we were asked to attend the RI board meetings. So they would pick 4 of us every year to attend the RI board meeting, which was really cool. I got super lucky because I was chosen my first year I was chosen to attend in April. And then in July, I transitioned into being the chair of the committee. So I got invited back to go in October. And it was a very interactive experience. You were sitting next to the wall observing, you were at the table, and they encouraged you to comment on anything that they were talking about. So what did we do? We went with a bunch of different recommendations. I just pulled up one that we sent to the board at its April meeting. But over the past 3 years, some of the things that we have recommended were both detailed and also broader in scope. So for example, some of the areas that I just wrote down that we have consistently commented on are creating some value with Rotary events, whether be the club experience or a district conference or all the way up to zone institutes and the RI convention. Where's the value in that? We felt very strongly, and we still do, that all people, but particularly young professionals, usually have to take a significant amount of time off of work. They have to obviously spend money to attend these events, and depending upon their geography, like for us in Alaska, generally speaking, you have to think about flying somewhere, right? So you've got your hotel, you've got your airfare, you've got the event. And if I'm going to spend that much money and take that time off of work, where's the value in that event? In addition, we felt very strongly, and they rolled it out, and they were going to increase it this year, that a lot of people would want to travel as a family to the RI convention. And many of the people on our committee had actually brought their kids on multiple occasions to RI conventions and made a family vacation out of it. But there really wasn't anything family oriented at the RI convention. So where was the value in that? Going back to district conferences and zone institutes, our recommendation was that there are too many of them. There's too many different events for people to choose from. You know, for example, it might be that an individual has to go to pets. Okay, I've got to take time off for that. I've got to pay for that. I've got to invest the time there. Then I've got to go to the district conference. And then ultimately I am invited to the Zone Institute. And then I need to go to RI convention. I've got to go to all these different things. So where's the value in that? Specifically regarding district conferences and zone institutes, we felt, and many agreed with us at the board, believe it or not, that the quality of speakers that are offered at district conferences in many cases, not all, but in many cases are substandard. Again, going back to the value, what am I paying for? Why am I spending my time to go and hear this person? So one thing that we actually did get through, and this is pretty exciting, is the concept of the RI President's Rep. Over the years, that person has been assigned without regard to how it might fit in the conference. They've been assigned without regard to their speaking ability or their ability to engage an audience. Many times there were language barriers. A lot of times the person just isn't a good fit. So we recommended to RI, and I can't see that this will be rolled out anytime soon because technologically speaking, it's just very hard to do. But we recommended that they create an app, a way for people to almost have a profile. So for example, if I had a profile, it would be through my Rotary, and it would say, Michelle O'Brien has experience with youth exchange, public image, social media. You know, these are topics that she's an expert in. And after I would go and speak at, for example, a district conference, all the people there could go in and say, wow, oh, I like that. She's good. She, you know, very, very much if you've been to PETS, how you're asked to rate your instructor. So we wanted to bring value to these events. The other thing that we've really hit on very strongly is the notion that Rotary should be building leaders sooner than later, and it shouldn't be based on, it should be based on talent, not who you know. And so let's see here. I'm just going to roll down a little bit. So they did implement an anonymous evaluation of the president's rep. But as you can see, we also requested the general secretary to study, and they're going to be implementing this for sure, but an open call for applications for leadership positions at the zone level. They're going to be encouraging districts to do that as well. So in other words, I'll just use myself as an example. No one should allow me to be the district treasurer, ever. That's no, that's not in my talent pool. That's not in my wheelhouse. Just like maybe you wouldn't have an accountant necessarily hold the public image chair position because that's not in their talent pool. If they're interested in getting involved and learning more, then great, maybe they can be on the committee. But the idea is that leaders should be, we should be tapping into the talents of Rotarians, and it shouldn't be just who we know. It's very unfortunate that, it's unfortunate but true, but many times at the zone level, certainly maybe not so much in our zones anymore, but definitely in other parts of the world, it's very much a nepotism type of an exercise. Joe knows Joe, Jill knows Ann, and so they're going to choose their friends so that they can have a little check mark on their Rotary resume, as opposed to what we should be doing is having people serve in these roles, which will benefit Rotary as a whole. So with that, those are kind of the big things that we worked on. The other thing that we tried to get through the Council on Legislation this past time, but it was hotly contested. I believe they had to vote. I know they had to vote on it twice. It was brought back for reconsideration, is the notion of shrinking the time frame that a person must be in Rotary in order to become a district governor. That was a huge hot button issue with our committee, because let's just say I'm 30 years old and I join Rotary, and I've been in Rotary a year, so now I'm 31, and then I am elected to be the president-elect, so maybe I'm 32 when I'm the president. So now, okay, so I've been in Rotary for 2 years. I'm a great leader. I've grown my club like crazy, but I've only been in Rotary for 2 years. And I'm really passionate, and I would love to grow within Rotary. I'd like to be district governor, but now I have to wait 5 years, 5 more years. So now the first time that I could even think about being district governor or nominated to be a district governor is at the age of 37. And now I've got to wait 3 more years. So now I'm 40 when I'm the district governor. And so you can see how that goes.
Michelle, this is Andre. Are others seeing your screen? Rosie sent me a note, said she could not see your screen. I can see it.
I don't know. Let me flip it here. I'm gonna go over here for a second.
I can see it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the Young Past District Governors Committee. It's been a really cool experience for me. We have been asked to do a virtual breakout session in the RI convention this year. And the theme is all the myths about being a district governor. Why you can be a district governor too. And so all of the myths. I believe I'm still on tap for opening that presentation, but I don't know. I'll find out how they're going to change it up at our meeting tomorrow. So flipping it over to public image, what's happening over there? I was very pleased to find out that Rotary is investing a significant amount of money in a national public service campaign, advertising campaign. They've never done that before. And so they are doing that now. And that's great news. They need to do that. And in addition, we had recommended as a Young Past District Governor Committee that they have more outward facing events. We would encourage district conferences and zone institutes and Rotary in general to have public and Rotary events, which if you're familiar with the zone event that was going to happen in England this year, it was an event, a symposium where the public was invited as well. So they are piloting in Houston and Chicago. Houston, because that's where an RI convention will be here very soon. A series of events that are service-based, major service-based projects where the public is invited. And that goes along with the new recommendation from the RI membership committee, where they are testing a membership model, which to me seems like a perfect time to do it right now because no one really is meeting in person, right, for the most part, but it's a non-club based model. So people can join Rotary and they can just go wherever they want. If you think about it, right now, all of us have a fantastic opportunity to literally zoom around the world And hey, I think I'll go to a club meeting in Nigeria this week, or I went to a club meeting in Georgia several weeks ago. You can really just go anywhere and learn a lot about Rotary and listen to some really cool speakers. You've had some speakers for this group. Those things are happening in public image. And I'm going to embarrass a club right now, and I hate to do it. I just happened to stumble upon their Facebook page. Shame, shame, shame on the Rotary Club of Anchorage Hillside. As of July 1st, Rotary is going to be implementing through the public image coordinators a social media audit of clubs to ensure that the branding is being used correctly. And because we spent millions of dollars creating our new logo, and people are still not using it. And in my recommendation would be to Hillside is if they're not interested in keeping up their page, they should probably maybe not have one. But ideally, they should have one. Now, in their case, if they just wanted to have a presence, Rosie and I could easily, if they would just give us access, it would take us no time at all to go in there and make a really quick design. If you need help on designing something, I did recently a webinar on using this cool tool called Canva. You can see I use this for everything, for my radio stations, and I use it for Rotary stuff. But it's really, really easy. And we recorded that. So if you want a link, just let me know. But it's free for the most part, and it's super easy to use. Let's see, I'm watching my time too, Andre. Okay, so what's happening with pets? Well, oh, I forgot something, sorry. I'm gonna backpedal. I like Andre this yesterday. I have never been a fan of utilizing LinkedIn for marketing. Anyone that's heard me speak about public, you'll hear me say LinkedIn is worthless unless you're looking for a job or you're looking to hire someone. That has changed radically in the last 4 months. LinkedIn usage is through the roof, and people are using LinkedIn to, it's staggering how many people are using LinkedIn to network. And there's a lot of people looking for jobs right now, right? But they're also looking to learn and grow, and they're looking for those connections. So I would highly recommend that not only you network on LinkedIn, but maybe your club does too. Right now, I think I read this morning that 66% of people on LinkedIn, when they see a profile, you can see in the left here on the Rotary International LinkedIn, it says visit the website. 66% of people are more likely to visit an organization or a company's website when they see the link on LinkedIn as opposed to anywhere else. So moving on to pets. What's going on with pets? Let's just see here. Looks like it's going to be virtual next year. I'm hoping this will pop up. Okay. It's looking like it's going to be virtual next year, and but that decision has not been set in stone. But the reality of it is, we got 800 people in Seattle, all flying in from all over, and usually sharing a room with someone that they don't know. That may not be the wisest move, so we're currently looking at online options. I've been asked to help them with this. And I discovered over the weekend, this is a super cool tool. I'm running a focus group next Tuesday at 2 p.m. our time. And I've invited a bunch of people to come to my party and test this out with me. It's called Remo, R-E-M-O. The website is remo.co. And so if you've been to pets, even if you haven't, this is what the ballroom looks like. You can see on my screen, this is kind of what the ballroom looks like. And in this Remo app, this software, which is entirely web-based, there's several different really, really cool features. So when you enter the room, or you're invited to enter the room, you can go sit at a table. So all these people can sit at a table, and they can talk to the other people at their table. They can have a video chat like you see up here with the people at their table. They can also trade their LinkedIn profiles. You can trade virtual business cards. You can set up appointments or meetings with other people. That's a business feature. And then if you are networking, like you do at Pets a lot, you can move tables. You can move around the room and meet all sorts of different people. So that's really, really cool. Up at the top, you can see that there's kind of a round thing here. It's a stage. You can't see, let's see if it will come up on this screenshot. There we go. Here's a different kind of a room for Remo. But there's, let me go back to this one. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, so in this room, you can see there's a stage in the top middle. And on the right of the stage, there is a whiteboard. So if you're teaching something or you have a speaker, there's a whiteboard, very much like instructors use at Pets. And then on the left, where this lady is showing her video, there's actually a YouTube link or a screen there for YouTube. So the presenter can show YouTube videos, PowerPoints, plus you can stream your presentation or your lecture live onto YouTube, which is really, really cool. You can see on the left here, there's these other rooms, and you can set up different rooms. So let's say I'm listening to the main speaker. Let's say I'm listening to Andre in the main room, and he says, well, great, if you want to learn more about public image, you could go to this room at the upper left, and it will be labeled public image. So you can go in that classroom. If you want to learn about growing membership, you could go into the lower left room, so people can go around the room. And there's also a countdown clock too. So people can network and they can talk just like you would at a regular, say, club meeting or a Rotary event. And then as the countdown clock counts down, it will let people know when the speaker is about to start. So it's a really, really cool tool. And I'm looking forward to the possibility of using this. Let's see if I can see here. No, that's my event. Let's go back over here. There we go. Okay, so this is a list of some of the features, and this is why I think we might be considering this. You can also do polls, question and answer voting. You can, you have HD audio and video, and they don't have to download or anything. And also, if you're using this for something like Pets, you can sell sponsorships. So we'll be doing the focus group, and I will, I'll keep you posted. But I would say it's a very strong likelihood that at the very least for a plan B, that we might be doing a virtual Pets next year. So did I hit on everything that you wanted, Andre?
Yeah, pretty much. I guess I'd like to open it up for questions. You've covered a lot of ground and you're doing good on time. How much time can you take here?
Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, I need to leave in 10 minutes, so.
So let's open it up for any questions. If you could type your question in the chat box, and Rosie will read the questions and Michelle can respond accordingly.
No, Michelle, this is in Toronto.
Do you have a district board meeting tonight too? 5:15.
If you could mute your microphone, if you have a question, I'm wondering, Michelle, can you get out of your screen here?
Your key for probably a month and a half old.
If you mute everyone.
That's right. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, could you please mute your microphone?
I'm going to go through and manually mute everybody except for Michelle.
Yeah.
And who's wanting to ask a question?
Rosie, can you get so that we're not looking at Michelle's screen, or does Michelle have to do that?
Michelle might have to do that.
Oh, come back. Yeah, good reason.
Catherine had a question, but Don is sort of overpowering.
Hello? Yeah, speaking, I'm gonna.
So did Don have a question?
Michelle, I'll speak up. This is Jess, and I think I fall into that young professional or young leader category. I commend you for everything you're doing. I think this is awesome, and I'm glad that Rotary's taking a focus on this. I think the big question I get a lot is, how do people go from being active at the club level to moving to the district level? I think the perception is still that you have to know somebody or kind of be, and I'm using air quotes, the good old boys club to be part of that. And I think we need to work on that barrier. And I don't know how we can transition to that, but with being part of that young district governors group, how are you guys overcoming that obstacle?
So we were asked to participate in a meeting in Evanston along with the Shaping Rotary's Future Committee. Unfortunately, I'm not able to share what transpired in that committee, other than I think you're going to see some monumentally large changes in the structure of leadership in Rotary, and how business in Rotary is handled. But you're absolutely right on, and that's what we've been working very hard to not have happen. Culturally speaking, though, we have a lot of challenges because there's a different way of doing business in Asia. There's a different way of doing business in Europe, India, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a very interesting challenge in the next couple of years. But the one thing I'm very thankful for is I do believe that Rotary has come to the realization, A, that it can't take 10 years to make things happen. We've been harping on that for sure. And B, they have to make some radical changes, period.
I'd like to just respond to Jess. I want to give Michelle as much time as possible to answer questions over some of the stuff she covered. But I understood your question to be, how can we get more people within the district involved at the district level? So I'll speak to that when Michelle is done.
Okay, we have another question from Brenda Sheldon.
So the question was, from the RI perspective, do you still see the United States has some influence in social media, or is there a shift to countries that have greater membership growth? Brenda, there's a shift everywhere in social media right now. There is such a rapid shift with younger folks to TikTok. I mean, TikTok is the place to be right now if you're younger. It changes all the time, every day. I think that from an adoption standpoint, though, North America still has huge influence on social media, but definitely Asia is growing. Problem I think that we need to look at even more is the North American influence on Rotary as a whole. And that's from a membership perspective. But this time right now, I was on a call last week, and it was one of the clubs I want to say back east somewhere, maybe it was Canada, but since they've started these Zoom meetings, they've gained over 25 new members. Because people like this whole virtual meeting thing. So I see an opportunity. I hope that helped. I don't see any more questions.
Hello, Michelle. It's Catherine from Toronto in Canada.
Hi.
I work with an e-club that is a very interesting experience, and I do indeed like Zoom meetings. But my question would be to you about the question of value in Rotary. Can you, you've talked a little bit about it, but I'm wondering if you could give me some more information about how do you put a value on membership in Rotary?
I think moving forward, it's going to be experiential. And unfortunately, there's nothing right now hugely concrete that we can do. That's one of the reasons they're doing that Houston pilot, is because the working theory, and I tend to agree with it, is that there's a whole bunch of people out there that are really interested in doing good in their communities or doing something in the world or being part of a cause. They're not so interested in going to have a lunch somewhere and listening to a speaker. They want to actually go do things. I think you're going to see, after this COVID thing kind of calms down a little bit, I think you're going to see a huge move that way with the global membership model.
You know, I think you're absolutely spot on there. And certainly the idea of traveling and seeing Rotary elsewhere is, I think, also a very valuable one. That was certainly one that interested me. Plus, of course, being from Canada, I was very interested in the United States and certainly very interested in Alaska, where I've never been. So for me, it's a huge eye-opener. Very nice people, Americans.
So we were, when I was down, I was visiting Far West Pets down in California, and I sat in on a group and participated. They have a pretty cool pets, by the way. But I shared an idea that we had here in Ketchikan, and we have not been able to implement this yet. So there's an island that's close to Ketchikan, yet it is remote, and it's called Prince of Wales Island. But the people on Prince of Wales Island and Ketchikan, they go back and forth a lot, right, for shopping, healthcare, and so on and so forth. But there's 8 people over there that want to form a Rotary Club, and they're great community members over there. Prince of Wales is a very large place, and they can't find any more than 8 over there to form a quote-unquote club. I also have a friend and his wife over there who own a big lodge, and every summer they have been bringing up in excess of 50 people to do major, huge community projects to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Every summer they like, for example, they built a new native house. Oh shoot, longhouse. They built a new longhouse for one of the communities. Anyway, with that being said, the idea is to take these 8 people, some of whom are previous Rotarians, and pair them up with this couple. And all the people that come every summer would pay their RI membership dues, but it would be a voluntourism club. So they would be Rotarians, but they would be Rotarians basically once a year in person, doing a huge project. They get to come see Alaska, and other people could certainly come to their quote unquote club meeting, their service project. It'll last about a week. And then they could go off and visit all sorts of clubs around the world if they so desire. And then, you know, some of these people come back every year. So that is an idea that down in California, people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a cool idea. So that was just one thing that we talked about.
So we've got time for maybe one more question of Michelle before she has to run.
Well, there's a lot of interest.
Okay.
Michelle, there's no more questions unless
I just have one last comment, Andre, and then I'll get out of all of your hair. If you are on Facebook, I would highly encourage you. It is by far the coolest place with the neatest ideas. My fellow RPIC, Public Image Coordinator Michael Angelo Caruso, who is based in the Detroit area, he started a group called Get the Word Out Now. And you have to ask to join the group. It asks 3 questions. Are you a Rotarian? What district? And why do you want to join? It's got really, really, really cool, great ideas. And he also does, he's a professional speaker by trade, and he does great live videos usually every weekend. So check it out. Get the word out now on Facebook. All right, cool. Gotta run. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So I'd like to, I don't recall who asked the question to Michelle, but I thought it was an excellent question. And I think she answered from the perspective of Rotary International. I kind of wanted to respond in terms of our Rotary district. I think the question was, how does one get involved at the district level beyond the club? And I think that they're absolutely correct that there may be a perception that you're only asked to serve at the district level if you know people. I can tell you, as a district governor, as I was getting ready for my district governor year, I found that I knew a lot of people because I'd been in several district positions as district trainer, membership chair, and attended a lot of Rotary district conferences. Somebody's got their mic on and we're picking up a lot of the sound. If they could mute, that'd be great. So when it comes to filling out the committees at the district level, when we look for a committee chair, we're often looking for someone who has been a Rotary Club president, been effective in that role, and has an interest and some particular passion for one area of Rotary. So it very well may be a youth exchange or RILA or the foundation or membership, public image. Those are all the main committees, but there are a lot more committees beyond that. We've had a Rotary District Leadership Academy for many years. When it first started, the whole program was adopted for our district, but it was run by another Rotary district. When we formed our own Rotary district, we had much more interest, and it was designed originally to prepare Rotarians for roles beyond the club. Over time, it has become prepare people for their role as incoming president-elect, and in some cases, people were not feeling like there was much out there where they could learn about Rotary, so they would sign up for the Leadership Academy, and it's very onerous and time-consuming. It's very rewarding when you finish it and you graduate from it. But what we found is that many of those people that graduate, say 10 years ago from the Leadership Academy, if nobody knows who was in the Leadership Academy, it's really hard to go to those people and say, would you have an interest in serving beyond the club level? So we rely sometimes on our assistant governors in each of our 5 regions to answer that question. Is there someone in your area who you know that may make a good committee chair or committee member? And if they've served on a district committee as a committee member, often that's a fitting role for them to become chair of that committee. When a district governor chooses a committee chair at the district level, most of the positions are 3 years and they're renewable year by year. So if they're not performing or they're moving or whatever the reason is that they may not feel that they can fulfill the 2nd or 3rd year, they notify the district governor or the district governor-elect, who then looks for a replacement for the following year. But for many people who want to be involved beyond the club level, it's because they're not asked. And it's also because they don't let anyone know that they have an interest. So I think it's a two-way thing. I think we've got plenty of room that we can do better. We're right now, we've been having a committee working since early March with Diane Fegis, myself, Gail Nepper, Kim Erickson, Brenda Hewitt, Brenda Sheldon. Are you on that committee? I think you are. And then we've got Jody Stewart, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, but it's focusing on 3 things: education about Rotary, how to be an effective committee chair. In other words, more of a role-based, what is the role of a particular Rotary committee? And then the final area is more leadership development. So if you think about growing in your awareness of Rotary, growing in your skills to be effective on a committee or whatnot, and then becoming a leader in a Rotary position, the whole effort that we're going to roll out on July 1 will be oriented towards using the Rotary Learning Center as the primary source of information, so that we've got members that can take a course, and when they complete it, we can track who's taking what courses, and we hope that that will lead to us having a greater understanding of who's available. So if we're looking for somebody to serve as a grants resource leader like Paul Pasley is this year, this is Paul's second year on the grants committee, and Paul may or may not have taken the grants course in the Rotary Learning Center, but if he did, I think he would probably agree that there's some things it does very well, and there's some other things that he wished that it would go deeper into. So we're going to have the ability to add our own courses for our District 5010 members in this Rotary Learning Center. But the tool that right now it's the district governor, and I think maybe one other person can actually track how many courses have been taken, who has taken them, and we hope that we'll have a better selection of people across the district. But the real first step to becoming involved beyond the club level is that you have to have served as a club president. And if somebody has an interest, we would encourage them to do those roles at the club level so that they get a basic understanding. Some of our smaller clubs, that's quite a bit more difficult than a large club. I know that a lot of our presidents of large clubs like Anchorage Rotary, also for Fairbanks Downtown Rotary, you come in and you start as maybe a treasurer. You come in and you might be a club secretary, then you maybe try another committee in membership or foundation before you're actually selected as a president-elect. And some clubs have a president-elect, so you're picked 3 years out from the time you're going to be president of your club. By the time you've gone through all those roles, not only are you much greater awareness about Rotary, but you're well positioned to really contribute to the success of the Rotary District. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but anybody that feels like they're being overlooked for a position has some responsibility of letting others know of your interest. And that starts, I think, with your area coordinator, or excuse me, not your area coordinator, your assistant governor that serves your region. And feel free to pick up the phone and call the district governor at any time, because if you have an interest and you called me, I would call Joe and say, here's somebody that called me. They have an interest in serving on this committee. Do you have a chair next year? And if you do, could you have that chair that's going to take over in July 1st, contact them and see what they can do to have them be a part of their committee. So there's a lot of mentoring, I think, that needs to go on, and they can actually help their track be more successful leading up to one of these district positions. So I hope that's helpful. Rosie or Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
The question was, when is it? When does it start? When do they start?
When does what start?
When did the Leadership Academy?
This coming year, there will not be a Leadership Academy. It's going to be this new approach that we're rolling out. And I could be wrong. It could be that the Leadership Academy is going to rely more on the courses in the Learning Center. We're still making some of the final decisions, but we think that too much emphasis has gone toward the Leadership Academy. And although we've had graduates, we've also had a lot of people that don't complete it. So the time and energy that goes to that may be better spent with more of a new model that we're moving toward, using regional training assemblies. And we're still in discussions over the next month about what that rollout's going to look at. So if I misspoke on that topic, I can clarify that as part of the committee. But, you know, people can accomplish the same thing using the courses at the Learning Center without us having to have them have a 9-month course. So that's the overview. Joe or Rosie, would you want to add anything?
I would add, having gone through the Leadership Academy myself last year, and looking at it, I'm very much in favor of what Andre's been instituting in terms of a new model, if you will. That's my sense. I think that our efforts could be better oriented toward, rather than reinventing the Rotary Learning Center wheels, we can do stuff that's specific to ourselves in addition to that. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. I've taught the Leadership Academy for a long time, but if you go to the Learning Center, the people that have created those videos and those classes for you have put in the latest and greatest. And I've taken a lot of the courses. They send you a certificate, and it's really nice to know that you have the latest up-to-date information. So.
And the other issue with the Leadership Academy, as it was, is that it was difficult to keep up and keep current, and things changed. And sometimes the Leadership Academy materials didn't always catch up with the changes. Mm-hmm. So when people, or the links were broken, it was a really big effort to fix this. And I'm really glad to see that it occurred, because I think it was definitely overdue.
I want to clarify, this isn't something that I've taken the lead on. As district governor, I'm on all the committees of the district, and so I've participated and devoted a lot of time into supporting this committee. There are a lot of great Rotarians on this committee, like I mentioned previously, and I think that we've got a lot of people who've gone through the Leadership Academy with no intention of wanting to serve beyond the club level. They just wanted Rotary information. Mm-hmm. We have others that have gone through it, but they've never been asked about serving on a district committee because we haven't had a good way to track them. So if I'm looking for someone for a committee, the approach I took this year was trying to come up with resource leaders. So for public image, we have 5 resource leaders, 1 for each region, the same for membership and for grants. And so that's been helpful, although we weren't able to do the face-to-face training because of the COVID. We were planning to include that in the March timeframe. So we're still going to work at this. This is a work in progress, but I'm really proud of the work that the committee's done. And I think that everybody will be happy that there's many, many more opportunities to learn about Rotary, to serve in roles at the local level or the district level. And it's all about leadership development and growth. And it starts with just having a good understanding of Rotary. So I had a couple announcements I did want to make before the end of the meeting today. Thursday night, my DG forum will be kind of round 2 with Paul Chappell, who was one of our Peace Forum speakers that we had lined up. 2 weeks ago, he gave a presentation that was really highly spoken of by everyone. And he used an avatar to do much of the presentation about the topic of peace literacy. And this week, he's going to be focusing more on the topic of how you use the skills that you learn as peace literacy to help you rebound, if you will, from this pandemic that we're going through. So I won't repeat all the information that I sent out in my email, but I hope that if you've got the ability to participate in that meeting Thursday night, I think you're going to like what he has to say. The other thing that I wanted to really brag about today is our polio giving, and thanks, Rosie, for your polio backdrop and celebrating with your sweatshirt. You know, I don't even have one of those sweatshirts. So, Rotary has met its goal. Our district has met its goal of increasing polio giving by at least 5%. In fact, we've done so well that we have grown 143% in our Rotary polio giving this year. So part of that is we devoted $34,408 of our DDF funds that we received back from Rotary. So for every contribution made to the annual fund, currently, half of that comes back 3 years later to our district. And half of that amount goes to our district grants, and the other goes to our global programs. But we take right off the top of that 34,000, which represents 20% of our DDF. And we contributed that towards polio. So that's number one. But our cash contributions this year, well, let me tell you what last year's cash contributions were. Last year's cash contributions was $71,632. This year, our cash contributions to polio is $151,632. So that means a total of $186,040 towards polio eradication. That's the good news. The not so good news is that our giving to the annual fund is significantly lower this year. And that concerns me for one reason, because whatever goes into the annual fund this year by our members, after 3 years, 50% of that comes back. So if we give less this year for annual fund giving, then we're going to have less available for grants and DDF and global projects and such 3 years from now. So we don't even know who the Rotary District Governor is going to be in 3 years, but that's the way it works. So it's not too late to give either to the annual fund or the polio giving fund. In fact, we've got several clubs that have yet to give anything to polio giving. And we have members that we know have not given to polio. One of my goals to reach the 5% this year was to ask every Rotarian to make a minimum of $25 donation to polio giving back in October during World Polio Day. And I obviously am very proud of the effort of the district, well exceeding that. A good chunk of that was a major donor in our Rotary district that gave money to polio, and they're anonymous, so we don't know who they are, but we're deeply appreciative that they gave generously. I got an email this morning from Rotary, and it talked about polio eradication activities in this time of a pandemic. So you need to know that continued contributions to Polio Plus will ensure that polio eradication activities that are ongoing, such as surveillance and vaccine supply, will continue, and that we come out of this crisis strong and tackle the remaining barriers to a polio-free world. Rotarians can stay focused on our work eradicating polio even as we face a pandemic for which there is not yet a vaccine, a situation similar to what the world faced back in about 1986 when we began RI's long-standing Polio Plus program to eradicate polio in the world. So as the world responds to COVID-19, there is significant risk that many children will miss out on life-saving polio vaccines that prevent dangerous diseases, including polio. So that was kind of the central message in I think it was a 32-page document that I received from Rotary this morning. But I wanted you to know how well we've done with polio giving, and I'd like to ask that you do anything you can, working with your club president, to help them understand that giving to the annual fund will contribute money that will benefit us in 3 years. So with that, that was all of the topics that I had. I did ask all of our club presidents, some because Alaska is beginning to open up again. I gave them some guidance that was provided to me. Much of it I actually read in the Anchorage Daily News about the requirements of opening up various businesses and whatnot. But some of our clubs are beginning to think about meeting again face to face. And I wanted them to know two things. One is that any Rotarian that does not feel comfortable meeting face to face should not be required to do so. But the club should make other efforts to make it possible for Rotarians to participate in club meetings and events and such. The second part of that message is to be safe, be wise, don't rush into opening up club meetings if your club is not ready. I'll give you an example of how my club has been talking about making this move. We meet at the Carlson Center, so we have a large room when it's not occupied by other groups. And they can bring in extra tables, space the tables farther apart, and they can put fewer people at each table. So instead of 6 people sitting at a table, we can have 2 to 3 people sit at a table and have enough tables and spread them out. That's one way that a club is approaching it. Another club may have a venue that's quite small and may not have the ability yet because there's restrictions of 25% to 50% occupancy, and there's a whole long list of other requirements even for them to serve customers. So you should have someone in your club that's got their eye on that and talking with their club president about target date, and they should meet and find out what's being done by the venue where you're meeting and what does your club need to do. So I don't want to beat that to death, but I hope that clubs use good sense and don't hurry into meeting this. What I've learned in this whole last 8 weeks or so is that a lot of Rotarians have enjoyed Zoom. They've enjoyed being able to bring in outside speakers, and it's actually broadened their reach as a club because they have former Rotarians calling in. They have Rotarians from other clubs and such. So I'm hopeful that clubs will find a creative way to use the best of both. So I'm going to stop there, and if there's any other questions, I'll take those now. If you do have to leave, feel free to do so, but any of you who've got questions, feel free to ask.
This is Joe. I'll just comment quickly that we could analogize what's happening with polio now to a chess end game. And most people who play chess, or in my case, lose at it to my kid, know that the end game is where you really win. You consolidate and you win, or you don't. So I see us as being in the end game for chess now, and that's in a lot of ways the most critical function. You can't lose sight of it. So as a practical matter, I think that being part of the chess end game is going to be a very specific goal, probably almost a major goal for Foundation this coming year. And so we're going to really work hard at that. And it's going to be hopefully our signature goal to be a positive part of the end game.
So I see a message here from Catherine I'll just respond to. She wanted to know the difference between the annual fund and the other funds. The other funds are the polio fund, the annual fund, and then there's a endowment fund. And so it's the third one I don't have much expertise in. Brad Gamble, our foundation chair, could probably answer that better than I could. So I'm not going to try to answer that. But Catherine, if you send me an email, I can send you a link where there's a good description of that third fund. And I see a question from Carl. Carl, I'll give you a call back.